morning, afternoon, or evening, or whenever it is you're watching this. Today, I'm going to try something that's called Mellick on site, and I'm here on site. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to replace some rotten siding on somebody's garage. So in this video, I'm going to show you the tools that you need, how to replace the siding, and then how to finish it up with paint and all that. There will be different cuts and takes because this job will take me, I'm hoping, about an hour, but I don't want to have you sit through an hour-long film. So I'll show you how to pull one piece, and then I'll go ahead and pull the next 4 pieces of siding while the video is paused on my end, so that way when you watch it, it's just one solid video. It'll just be kind of like, here's what this is, here's what this looks like, and then here's the next step. So starting off, let me spin this around so you can see the rotten siding here and how to judge that it is rotten. So what I have here is this garage, and obviously you can see the backer board here. The siding is gone. I mean, it's just peeling right out, and it's just soft with bugs and crickets in it. The next one here, you can see that it's got some soft spots in it. The following one, and then the last one. So these aren't very big sections, but if you do not get it replaced in time, then the interior structure of the building will start to rot away. So those are the reason why you want to fix that, is to save your building. Tools that I will be using, and I've got them laid out here, and I'll try and show them to you here, are, first off, I'm going to use a flat crowbar, a framing hammer, and that'll be used to pull the siding off and to pull the nails out. Next, I'll use a tape measure, and that'll be used to measure the long stretch of new siding to fit it into the space that is required. Following that, I have a skill saw, and that will be used to cut the siding down to size. You can also use a sliding compound miter saw or just a regular saw. Then you'll need some nails to re-nail the siding back on. So those are right here, nails. And finishing up with that, you'll need a can of primer and some paint. So that is right here, paint and primer. You'll need a brush. You don't have to, but you can use a little bucket and to put the paint in, or you can just dip the brush right into the paint and the primer and paint it right on. So that's what we're doing today, and we're going to start. I'm going to spin the camera around again so you can see how I pull a couple sheets off of the siding and check the backing board to make sure it does not need replaced. If it does, I'll address that with that situation. Hopefully it doesn't, but we'll go from there. So I'll grab my hammer and my flat crowbar, spin around, set this on the ground here, and start to work. It's just so rotten that that next piece just came right up. Now you can see up here, as I move this piece, you can see the nails here. That's where it's hidden in at. So I want to go ahead right here, use my flat crowbar to pull those nails out. Because once those are pulled, the piece should fall out because I've already ripped out the nails that were here and here. There's that. Now my next piece, it's tied into a good piece right up here. So I want to pull these nails because I don't want to damage this piece. So I'm going to use my crowbar. I'm going to take it, I'm going to slide it in like this underneath the bottom of that piece. Go up. And doing that, it allowed the nail to pop out a little bit. Same thing over here. And I can pull those two nails out. And this piece here, it should pull right out. So, siding, when you apply siding, you apply it from the bottom up, but that last piece will have to be knifed in. So, that gives you an update so far. I'm going to get the items laid out for the next piece, and we will go from there. Alright, sorry. I'm not used to recording myself while I'm working, so I accidentally went ahead and hung the first sheet back. All you missed was me just driving nails in. What I want to go over here is the tar paper there. It's done as a moisture barrier to keep the water from hitting the backing board behind it and rotting out the backing board. And the next thing that I want to do is I've got my pieces all cut. Alright, I'm going to walk them up. And one thing I want to make sure is up here, I want to measure this so that way I can make sure that the distance looks the same and it doesn't look like I replaced at the end. So we're at 9.5 inches and 9.5 inches. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to angle the camera down here. I'm going to measure from the bottom up, 9.5 inches. I'm going to measure it up again, 9.5 inches. Alright? And I can do it a third spot in the middle if I want it. What these marks do is they give me a spot as to which I can line up my next piece and check it. I'm also using a level to make sure that everything stays straight and true by making sure that the plumb stays in the middle. So it just kind of goes like that. So now I've got that lined up. I'm going to grab my nail and my hammer. I'm going to use this to steady it. By doing it this way, all the nails are hidden because you can't see them and it doesn't allow for any leak points. I'm going to double check my measurement before I sink too many nails into it. So raise that up a little bit. Right there. Alright. Use that. Put a third one in the middle if I think it needs it. And we'll go from there. Next one up. Just working myself up as I go. So now the next piece, once again, I'll measure 9.5 up. Mark it. 9.5 up. Mark it. 9.5 up. And mark it. And repeat. So I'm going to pause this again so you don't have to watch me hang siding. And I'll play it again when I'm ready to do the next step. Alright, I have worked myself up to the last piece, and I wanted to go over with you how to install that last piece because you won't be able to hide those nails. And you have to drive it on up in there to make sure that it looks right. One of the things that you do not want to do is you do not want to take your hammer and hit this because the force of the hammer head hitting that little spot there will cause it to dent. So what you want to do is, I've got my marks right on the board, I want to use this and use a block because it spreads the force out. That way I don't end up taking a chunk out of my piece. And then I can still set my level on the bottom side of that to make sure that I'm level and so that it looks nice. And I just need to go up just a tad bit. Once I'm done with that, putting those last few nails in, I want to go back through, and I forgot to mention this earlier in supplies, I want to put some caulking down the edge here. That way water doesn't get in between the boards and then back in beside the siding. Same on the other side. And so I'll just take this and caulk this down, smear it out with my finger or a tool, and then it's ready for paint. So that's this step. I am going to go ahead and put in 3 nails, 1, 2, 3 here. That way it's done, and then now I'm ready. After that, I'm ready to caulk it and prime it. Alright, caulking. There are many types of caulking that you can buy. I've just picked up a general purpose outdoor caulking. It'll expand and contract with the different rates of temperature. To open this, you want to take it and you want to slice the top at an angle, and then you want to puncture the inside. So I'm going to do that real quick here. So you can see I've sliced the top off at an angle, and then the gun, it has a tool, and you use this tool to ram it down inside there, which punctures the inside of the tube to allow for the caulking to come out. And then you go ahead and squeeze the trigger. This gun, it does have a built-in cutter here. The way when you squeeze it, it cuts the tube. I've never had good luck with that. I always use my pocket knife. Coming through here, I'm just going to get this old caulking off here. I'm going to use my knife to trim it real quick so we don't rip it all the way up the side. And I'm going to take this and just put a nice thin bead all the way down. That way everything's sealed up. Now I have seen some people, they will go ahead and put caulking on the bottom side of here. If they sit flat, it's kind of just personal preference if you need it or not. I don't think I do. I'm sure that someone will comment saying that I do need caulking there, and that's entirely up to you on that one. Doing the other side real quick. That way everything's all caulked up. Alright, then when you're done, you push this button on the back of the gun. It releases the pressure so your caulking doesn't continue to come out. And I'm going to shove a nail or a screw in the end, and it'll keep it fresh. Not forever, because I've already cut it open, but at least I can come back in a few days if I find a few spots around the house that need some caulking on it, and I can seal those up. Now I'm going to take my finger down this and just kind of flare it out so it looks nice. They make a tool you can use too. It just depends on your personal preference, how you want to do it. I know you don't want to eat it. It's not ice cream. You do want to make sure that you purchase paintable caulking, as you are getting some of this on the siding, and your next step is to paint it. So make sure you have purchased a caulking that you can paint. If not, that will never ever be painted. There's just something about the caulking and how it repels the paint. It's weird. Extra caulking, you can just wipe it on the ground off your finger, and you're done. So next step is to get some paint out. I'll pause this while I get those paint cans ready so I can show you how to stir them up, open them up, and put paint on this. Alright, so I've got my siding all hung up there. It looks nice and beautiful, as you can see. Tilting it down. Okay, I got my paint out. I read the can. It's a primer and a paint. So technically I don't have to put any primer on it because this is somebody's garage. They're not too worried about the paint not sticking. If it were my house, I would go ahead and put some primer on it just for that extra durability. This will require probably a second coat because there is no primer on it, and that is okay. I'm opening up my can with a flathead screwdriver. I'm going to get it opened here, and then I'm going to use a stirring stick to stir up the paint as it has been sitting for a while. So I'll kind of tilt this down so you can see what I'm doing here. And my stirring stick here, just take this in, stir it up. Nothing super fancy. And then remember how I said earlier how you don't have to if you don't want to. You don't have to use a bucket. I'm not going to use a bucket. I want one more thing to carry and dirty up. So I'm just going to take my paintbrush and dip it right in there and just paint the side of the garage here. I left the camera up back here so you can see what I'm doing. and that's pretty much it. That way you can see how I paint this, and we'll go from there. I typically will paint from the top down, because if paint is going to drop, it's going to drop down. Same reason why you hang siding from the bottom up, because if water runs down, your lips are all covered, and it makes sense that to not try and cover up your work or redo your work. If you're going to drip it. Dipping this in here. I'm going to go ahead and paint this piece here too, because I did pull the nails out, so I want those to seal back in. The paint, it is the exact same color. I know that it looks like it is not at the moment, but it is the same color. When it dries, it will dry to be the same sheen and tint and whatnot. I could take and roll this, and if I roll it, I have to come back in and pencil in my groove. So my thought is, for no more than what I'm doing, I'm just going to go ahead and brush it. Show you this here. That on there. Sorry, I'm no Bob Ross talking about all the fancy things you can do with the paint, but at least I am showing you how to get this settled up, fixed up, that way you don't lose your building. Over here. Anyway, I'm going to continue that on down and do the next two sections, 3 pieces. And then in a few hours or tomorrow, depending on weather, I'll go ahead and repaint it to make sure it's got a good coating on it. Thank you, and I hope you enjoyed this episode of Mellick on Site.